Gaius Julius Caesar was born in 100 BC into an old but not rich family. Tall, thin, balding, epileptic, but charming, brilliant, and ruthless. He understood spectacle. He understood debt. He understood the people. He formed the first triumvirate with Crassus, richest man in Rome, and Pompey, greatest general. They ruled the Republic in secret. Caesar got Gaul as his province. For 9 years, he conquered what is now France, Belgium, and parts of Germany and Switzerland. He wrote his own propaganda, commentaries on the Gallic War, still taught in Latin classes today. He described the Britons, the Druids, the Rhine Bridge he built in 10 days. He sold 1 million Gauls into slavery. He made himself insanely rich and gave his soldiers land and loyalty. In 52 BC, he crushed the great Gallic revolt led by Vercingetorix at Alesia, one of the most brilliant sieges in history. Vercingetorix surrendered dramatically, was paraded in Caesar's triumph, then strangled. Pompey and the Senate grew terrified. In 49 BC, they ordered Caesar to disband his army and return alone. Instead, on January 10th, he crossed the Rubicon River with 1 legion and said the famous words, according to later writers, "The die is cast." Civil war again. Pompey fled east. Caesar chased him to Greece, beat him at Phasaelis in 48 BC. Pompey was murdered in Egypt. Caesar followed, met Cleopatra. She was 21, he was 52, installed her as queen, and supposedly fathered Caesarion. Back in Rome, he became dictator for life. He reformed the calendar, the Julian calendar we still use, slightly tweaked, gave citizenship to Gauls, reduced debt, built forums and libraries, planned a new harbor at Ostia. He wore purple, sat on a golden throne, and let statues of himself be placed next to gods. On March 15th, 44 BC, the Ides of March, 60 senators stabbed him 23 times in the Senate. He pulled his toga over his head and fell at the foot of Pompey's statue. Brutus, his friend, and perhaps his son, gossip said, delivered the final blow. Caesar's last words, according to Shakespeare, not history, were "Et tu, Brute." The people rioted. They burned the Senate house. They demanded revenge. Chapter 7. Octavian and Antony, the final showdown, 1,056 words. Caesar's 18-year-old great-nephew and adopted heir, Gaius Octavius, arrived in Rome. Small, sickly, ice-cold, but politically brilliant. He called himself Gaius Julius Caesar Octavianus. He formed the second triumvirate with Mark Antony, Caesar's best general, and Lepidus. They proscribed 300 senators and 2,000 knights, including Cicero, whose hands and tongue were nailed to the rostra. Brutus and Cassius were defeated at Philippi in 42 BC. Then the triumvirs turned on each other. Lepidus was sidelined. Antony went east, fell in love with Cleopatra, and lived like an Oriental king. Octavian portrayed himself as the defender of old Roman values against the Egyptian whore. In 31 BC, the fleets met at Actium. Octavian's admiral Agrippa I, Antony, and Cleopatra fled to Alexandria and committed suicide. She with the asp, he by his own sword. Octavian was now sole master. In 27 BC, he staged the greatest political theater in history. He walked into the Senate, offered to give up all power, and retired. The Senate begged him to stay and gave him the title Augustus, the revered one. He kept all the real power, but called himself Princeps, first citizen. The Republic was dead. The Empire had begun, disguised as restoration. Chapter 8. The Pax Romana, Augustus to the 5 good emperors, 1,234 words. Augustus ruled 41 years. He created the Praetorian Guard, the Imperial Postal Service, the Fire Brigade, the Grain Dole. He rebuilt Rome in marble. He encouraged marriage and children with laws and cash bonuses. He exiled his own daughter Julia for adultery. He died in 14 AD saying, "I found Rome a city of brick and left it a city of marble." The Julio-Claudian dynasty that followed was pure soap opera. Tiberius, paranoid, retired to Capri with young boys. Caligula declared himself a god, made his horse consul, slept with his sisters, assassinated after 4 years. Claudius stuttered, conquered Britain, married his niece, poisoned by her. Nero killed his mother, kicked his pregnant wife to death, sang while Rome burned. Probably not true. Persecuted Christians, forced to suicide in 68 AD. Then, the year of 4 emperors, 69 AD. Civil war again. Vespasian won. His son Titus captured Jerusalem in 70 AD, destroyed the temple, brought the treasures, including the menorah, to Rome, still visible on the Arch of Titus. The Flavian and then the 5 good emperors, Nerva, Trajan, Hadrian, Antoninus Pius, Marcus Aurelius, gave the empire its golden age. Trajan expanded to maximum size, from Scotland to the Persian Gulf. Hadrian built the wall in Britain, the Pantheon, still the largest unreinforced concrete dome in the world, and traveled constantly. Marcus Aurelius wrote his Meditations while fighting Germans on the Danube, the philosopher emperor. The empire stretched 5,000 miles, population 60 to 80 million. One currency, one law, one army. You could travel from Britain to Syria, speaking only Latin or Greek and using the same coins. Roads so good that the army could move 600 miles in a week. Aqueducts bringing 300 million gallons of water a day to Rome alone. Public baths, theaters, amphitheaters in every major city. The Colosseum seated 50,000 and could be flooded for naval battles. Daily life for ordinary people was better than anything seen again until the 19th century. Fast food shops, thermopolia, glass windows, underfloor heating, public toilets with running water, apartment blocks up to 7 stories. Women could own property, run businesses, divorce. Slaves could earn freedom and become citizens. The empire was multicultural on a scale we still struggle to match. Chapter 9. Bread and Circuses. The Dark Side of Glory. 789 words. But cracks were showing. The army grew dependent on barbarian recruits. Emperors debased the currency to pay soldiers. Inflation soared. The rich got richer, the poor stayed poor. Gladiatorial games became more brutal. Women fought, dwarves fought, Christians were burned as torches. The Colosseum's opening, games in 80 AD, lasted 100 days and killed 9,000 animals. Yet, the Romans were also astonishingly tolerant. They allowed local gods as long as you sacrificed to the emperor too. Christianity was the exception because Christians refused. Nero blamed them for the Great Fire. Later emperors persecuted sporadically. Then, Constantine had a vision before the Battle of Milvian Bridge in 312 AD. In this sign conquer, and converted. In 380 AD, Christianity became the official religion. Chapter 10. The Fall. Slow burn, not sudden crash. 1,012 words. The traditional date for the fall of the Western Empire is 476 AD, when the last emperor, Romulus Augustulus, Little Augustus, ironic, was deposed by the barbarian Odoacer. But the real story is slower. Barbarian migrations, economic collapse, plague, overtaxation, civil wars, the split into East and West in 395 AD. The East, Byzantine Empire, survived another 1,000 years. The West fragmented. Rome itself was sacked in 410 AD by the Visigoths, the first time in 800 years. St. Augustine wrote City of God to explain that the earthly city was never meant to last forever. Yet Roman law, Latin, roads, cities, and Christianity survived. The Pope in Rome kept the title Pontifex Maximus that emperors once held. Charlemagne was crowned Holy Roman Emperor in 800 AD by the Pope, claiming to revive Rome. The idea of Rome never died.